gonna have to do this the hard way.
You must be in a hurry to die, Jedi.
You know, they don't really want to see this anyway. They just want to see my review.
You will finish what you started.
I'm just gonna go. Is that okay? Okay, I'll see you.
Star Wars Episode 7 The Force Awakens has finally arrived! Yes! Finally! But is it good? Force Awakens is directed by J.J. Abrams and stars Harrison Ford, Mark Hamill, Carrie Fisher, Daisy Ridley, John Boyega, Adam Driver. Tons of great new people mixed with the old original cast that we grew up loving. Now this is going to be a completely spoiler-free review. I will eventually do a spoiler-filled review, but for anyone who has never watched a video of mine before, know that I hate ruining things for anyone. I cherish the idea of going to a film with a sense of discovery. As we already know from the trailers, we meet a character named Rey, played by Daisy Ridley. She's a scavenger on the desert planet of Jakku. She eventually runs into John Boyega, or Finn, a stormtrooper that was part of the First Order, which is the new division that has replaced the old Empire. He decides to leave the First Order because something inside doesn't sit right with him anymore, and he runs into Rey on Jakku, and they start an adventure together that eventually leads them to Han Solo. And while all this is happening, there's a new villain on the rise who has taken great inspiration from Darth Vader, and his name is Kylo Ren. The last time a movie was this hyped was probably The Phantom Menace back in 1999. Now, I grew up loving the original trilogy. If you've watched my channel this year, you've seen me review every single episode leading up to this, all the way from Phantom Menace to Return of the Jedi. I've had my thoughts about each one, but I've really only loved two of them, A New Hope and Empire Strikes Back. Well, now it's three. The Force Awakens. Now look, I'm not fanboying here. I was watching this movie like a hawk for flaws. And there are a couple, and I'll talk about them a little bit more in detail in my spoiler review coming up very soon. The Force Awakens is one of the most entertaining movies I've seen. It's not just a great Star Wars movie, it's actually a great film. The thing that I love about Force Awakens, amongst other things that we'll discuss, is the fact that it actually is a movie with filmmaking and acting and scenes and characters. Things we haven't seen in a Star Wars movie in a really long time. Action sequences that feel real and grounded, because this production did have a preference for actual practical creatures and real designs. Things that actually occur right in front of you that aren't green screen trickery. Yes, there's CGI in the movie, of course, but it's not the focus. Another thing I loved about this movie is that it actually has humor. It's very funny. It's not stale and boring and dry. And the humor actually works, and some of it is even well incorporated with the villain characters. John Boyega as Finn is so energetic. He has so much charisma. You can just feel it seeping off of him. He's so excited to be in this movie, and it shows in his character. He gave an excellent performance, and I really did care about the character of Finn because they set him up very well as a person who just doesn't feel right in his position. You understand why he doesn't feel right. Something about what he witnesses just affects him, and you can feel it even when he's wearing a stormtrooper helmet. And as I said, the adventure that begins with him and Rey is extremely exciting, not just because of how well directed it is and how much fun it is and hearing John Williams' brilliant cues again. It's also because you really do care about him as a character, and you also really care about Rey, played by Daisy Ridley, who in my opinion steals the entire film. She is brilliant in this movie. She is an excellent discovery, and there is a sense of discovery. Going to a movie, seeing someone who's basically unknown, portraying this character, and you now see her as this person because you don't identify her with something else she's done in the past. Her performance is so real. She's so real in this movie, you never feel like she's acting. Her character's so well realized, and by far she's the heart and soul of this movie, and she's terrific in the action sequences as well, as is John Boyega. The friendship that blossoms between her and some of the original cast is also tons of fun, and it's the kind of movie where you don't get much breathe room, and that can be a bad thing in other movies, where you're like, wait, let's breathe a little bit and let's sink in here. And there are scenes like that. But with this movie and with the original trilogy, most of the time, they're always moving and the plot's always progressing, and the plot progresses through our characters encountering more action. And that's what Force Awakens does for our characters. The prequels, everyone walked around and told us the plot. The exposition was so heavy. We were constantly reminded of things and told directly to the audience rather than being shown. Force Awakens shows. We get to see these exciting sequences. The exposition is kept to a minimum. There are scenes in this film that I'm sure people will be like, oh, why didn't you explain how that was obtained? Because I'm not sure how you got that. Because that was kind of lost in another movie, so how'd you get that? We'll talk more about that in the spoiler review. It is glossed over, yes, but if you complain too much about those things, then you're really just telling the writers that we want them to explain everything to us, which is exactly what we told them we didn't want to do in the prequels. So we have to be careful as fans of Star Wars to not be hypocritical and expect everything to be explained to us, because less is more. We'll get more into that at the end of this video. One of my favorite new characters in this movie was Poe, played by Oscar Isaac. He is so cool. I mean, he just oozes cool. He is the baddest fighter pilot in the galaxy, and he knows it. But he's not cocky. He's just really assured of his skills, and you feel that warmth coming off of him. Oscar Isaac was excellent in this movie. Let's talk about Abrams' direction. It was beautiful. Long, wide takes, real practical explosions. As I said, the locations are almost entirely on set, on location. Abu Dhabi, snowy mountainsides, beautiful forests, just a gorgeous looking film. Abrams did a magnificent job directing. He was the perfect choice for this movie. After having seen it, I can't think of someone else helming this film. Let's talk about BB-8. Now, I was worried about that droid. I was concerned, you don't want to get too cutesy. We've seen that before. Jar Jar Binks. Didn't work. It was terrible. Perfect. BB-8 is awesome. If you bought BB-8 toys, don't feel bad. He's cute and adorable in just the right ways. He's not overbearing. He's not annoying. He's not in every scene. And they wisely incorporated some very good humor with his character. I loved the little guy. So let's talk about that original cast. Han Solo and Chewie, great stuff. The banter between them is there. It's fresh. You feel that friendship. And there's this amazing joke that I won't spoil that goes on back and forth between the movie about Han's choice of weaponry. Loved it. So much fun. Seeing them back in this movie almost brought tears to my eyes. And not just because, oh look, it's Han Solo. It was because it was actually handled well. It was giving respect to the character. It wasn't like, hey, let's just reference everything from Star Wars that we liked one time. Because this movie had a danger of doing that, and I was afraid of that. Jurassic World did that this year. It tried so hard to pay tribute to Jurassic Park, and it really just came off as basically copying off of Jurassic Park. I was concerned that Abrams and his love for A New Hope, because he has said that is his favorite, would override this movie and there'd be too many homages to it. There are most definitely scenes or sequences where you might say, okay, that reminds me of Star Wars, that reminds me of Star Wars, oh, that's an object from A New Hope, I remember that. But it's not handled in a derivative way, it's handled in a loving way. It's showing respect to the original trilogy while also being its own film. And that's what I loved also about Han Solo being back, because he has a role in this movie that's very integral to the plot. And Ford was great as the character once again. It was so much fun seeing him back with that blaster. And Leia is also back in the film, and the scenes between Han and Leia were really special, but also tinged with a hint of remorse for things in the past. And I just actually thought it was really beautiful and very well handled. Something that Abrams did really well in this movie was take his time with certain scenes. He pauses a lot on some of the more heartfelt scenes. He doesn't allow everything to just blur by too quickly, and that's something I really appreciated. So let's, without any spoilers, talk about Kylo Ren. Oh my goodness gracious, I love this guy. What a great villain. Not just evil and scary and intimidating, which he is, but motivated. You understand why he's doing the things that he's doing. And I've said this many times in the past about the greatest movie villains. They're all characters that you understand. You don't necessarily condone their actions, but you understand why they think they're doing the right thing. That makes a great villain. That makes one you can actually care about, and almost in a way justify when you see him or her do certain things. And Kylo Ren is just like that. He's written very well, and Adam Driver is amazing as Kylo Ren. Luke Skywalker Is he in this movie? Yes. I'll talk to you more in the spoiler review. That's all I'm going to say about him. Is The Force Awakens a flawless movie? Well, first of all, no movie is. If you really want to pick apart any movie, you can always find a flaw in the storytelling or something. Even movies that I've given A+s to have problems. Here are some of my issues with the film. There are so many real practical effects and real locations in this movie. 99.9% of it is, and it's such a great thing to see. But there are 2 motion capture characters, and those characters stand out. They are obviously CGI amongst a world of realism, and so I don't always know if the character of Maz Kanata, as well as Supreme Leader Snoke, have a place in that, because as I watched their motion capture performances, it wasn't like Andy Serkis in Dawn of the Apes, where I was like, that's real. It's a little noticeable, and sometimes distracting, but gratefully they're not in the movie very much at all. And the scenes that they're in, while important, are really just propelling the plot along. It's just that as I looked at them, I was like, that's the CGI. It didn't really sell for me, unfortunately. My other issue is a spoiler, which I will discuss more in my spoiler review, but it's not like a big plot point. It's just something that occurs in the 3rd act in which something just sort of randomly goes like, hey, I can help, and it just happens, and it's so out of left field, and you're just kind of left wondering why that didn't happen earlier and why it's happening now, and it felt very convenient. And my last and final flaw with this movie is that I didn't necessarily feel that Starkiller Base was really all that great. It was just there, and it was something the X-Wings had to fight. It kind of felt like a 3rd Death Star, and I don't know, I didn't feel that much going in. It was like the sequences using it, I don't know, it didn't really affect me all that much because it's not really set up as this terrifying thing. It's just there, and they have a base, and the X-Wings have to fight something, and okay. I was way more invested with what was going on with our human characters on the ground, and less so much about the Starkiller Base. Now let's discuss something called a cliffhanger. A lot of people are going to leave The Force Awakens disappointed. They're going to feel as if something wasn't given to them. They're not going to feel a 100% sense of finality. What's another really good Star Wars movie where it left things like that? Well, that would be The Empire Strikes Back. In 1980, my dad saw The Empire Strikes Back in theaters, and he told me that himself and my mom and a lot of other people he talked to left the theater disappointed because it was such a cliffhanger and they had to wait 3 years for answers, and they felt like something wasn't right because they hadn't experienced closure. So people will leave The Force Awakens thinking that because, yes, it sets up for Episode 8. It's not like, hey, everything's perfect and wrapped in a little bow. Because you know what movies wrapped everything in a little bow? That would be The Phantom Menace, Attack of the Clones, and Revenge of the Sith. Every single prequel ends and you're like, oh, it's great. Yay, okay. Do we have to see another one? Nothing about each prequel made you go, I want to watch the next one. It was always just an ending and everything was perfect and you were like, okay, that's cool. The Force Awakens hooks you. It makes you want more. As I said earlier, I would mention this, less is more. We want more. I wanted Episode 8 to start instantaneously when Episode 7 ended. That means this movie affected me. And if you leave the theater going like, I want to see more, then that's good. You're supposed to feel that way. When we grew up, we could just pop in the next VHS tape after Empire Strikes Back ended. We got the finality of Return of the Jedi and we were happy. But in 1980, when that movie ended, everyone was like, where's the rest? I have to be careful not to mistake my present day thoughts of, oh, I want more. Oh my gosh, Force Awakens, I need more, because I'm gonna get more. They're making 2 more. It's the start of a trilogy. If we were given complete 100% finality, then that would suck. I need to feel hooked. I need to feel like I'm starting a new adventure. And when Force Awakens ended, I was just like, more now. See, as the original trilogy, episode 4, 5, and 6 went on, each film answered more questions and gave us more questions until finally Return of the Jedi gave us closure. As the prequels went on, the films tried to answer questions, but they really just muddled it even more. The Force Awakens gives us questions and it makes us want the answers, and I can't wait to experience the answers. Now, I know what you guys want me to do. You want me to rank them. I can't. I've only seen it one time. I have to see it again, but by far I know for a fact This is my favorite Star Wars film since The Empire Strikes Back. I do like it more than Return of the Jedi. I don't know if I like it more than Empire or Star Wars. I'd have to see it multiple more times. It's a billion times better than the prequels, and as I said, better than Return of the Jedi. I think it's a great Star Wars film, and I'm not Phantom Menacing here. I was watching like a hawk for flaws, and there are some, but it didn't affect my enjoyment of this film. It didn't affect the entertainment value present in The Force Awakens. Guys, virtually every scene in this film is brimming with ideas, with creativity, and it would be really dumb of me not to acknowledge that as someone who appreciates filmmaking, as someone who appreciates imagination. This film launches a whole new generation of Star Wars fans and characters while still paying great tribute to the old, as well as making us want more of the new.
I'm gonna give Star Wars The Force Awakens an A.
I told you guys in detail my pros and cons. Now I will talk about the spoilers very soon in my spoiler review, and please stay tuned for my secret surprise Star Wars review that will launch in a couple days after I post my spoiler review. I can't wait to do that. Also, some very important thank yous. Thank you so much to my friend Matthew Brando for portraying Kylo Ren in my opening skit. He did a great job. I have left a link for his channel below. We've done some Star Wars videos together because he reviews Star Wars toys, Jurassic Park toys. He talks about Blu-rays and filmmaking and other cool things on his channel. He's a good friend of mine. Thank you so much to Aaron J. Morton for providing the score for that skit. He did an amazing job. He also has provided the composure for my opening theme. Great guy. Thank you so much. And Kevin Ayotte for helping me at the last possible minute with some of those visual effects. I was able to do my green lightsaber, and then I was just like, I can't focus on this. I need to do other things. You did amazing work with those visual effects. Thank you so much, sir. I have left a link for his information below because he would like to do this for a living, and I think he should because he did an amazing job. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, a very cool YouTuber, Taylor Davis, has composed an awesome Star Wars violin song that will be uploaded very soon. That link is going to be in the description below, but for now, it's going to be her channel, as well as that video link eventually right below that. Please definitely go check that out. Guys, Star Wars. Look forward to it. I'm going to go see it again Thursday at 7. You guys are the best. If you like this, you can click right here and get Stuckmanized.